Tell me what it was like as the Vatican II changes. And of course, a lot of the changes that were implemented weren't outlined in the documents.
Well,
Things just started happening. I hear horror stories about
I
statues.
have always been suspicious of the press, the newspapers, the media, the TV.
Everything, really.
And always loved books. So I actually read some of the documents.
Yeah.
And compared them to what was being made out of them by the
Yeah.
popular press and saw the immense gap. So I had no problem with Vatican II. It didn't throw anything out. It added modern stuff to the ancient stuff, and I loved it all,
Yep.
as did John Paul and Benedict and
Yep.
the rest. So I never had any problems
But
with
what
it.
about the implementations of it that you began seeing? Because you grew up, you saw the Tridentine Mass. Presumably that was part of what you were saying to your father, even if you weren't at Holy Mass.
Absolutely.
The beauty
A
of
masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece. How could the devil endure such beauty? It must cause him immense pain.
It's a beautiful thing to say.
Yeah. And that's 2,000 years old, and it's not dying. So I have no problem with Vatican II at all.
Sure, but the implementation of it. So
The implementation of it was stupid. It was silly. I knew from the beginning that the only church that can possibly exist is the church of idiot sinners. That's what we are.
Yeah.
One of the books my Calvinist friends gave me in Calvin to deter me from becoming a Catholic was Boccaccio's Decameron, which is a lot of anti-Catholic short stories written by this Renaissance humorist. And one of them takes place during the Borgia papacy, when basically the mafia controlled the papacy. And a couple of popes were spectacularly wicked.
Yes.
And the story is about this pious French bishop in Paris who has a neighbor who's Jewish and who's a businessman, is very smart. His name is Abraham. And the bishop thinks Abraham's on the verge of conversion. And one day Abraham comes to the bishop and says, "Bishop, wish me good speed. I have to take a trip to Rome and do some business deal there. I have to do business with the Vatican Bank, and I'm going to live with the papal family." And the bishop said, "Look, Abraham, I know you're on the verge of conversion. Let me baptize you before you go." Well, I don't know if I'm ready yet, but why before? Well, it's foggy down there. You won't see things clearly. The air is clearer up here. And Abraham says, "Nope, business first, then pleasure. That's my rule. I'll see you in the spring."
Yeah.
He leaves. The bishop says, "I've lost him. He'll see the corruption there. He'll never become a Catholic." Comes back in the spring and says, "I'm ready to be baptized." What? You didn't go to Rome then? Yeah. You didn't do business with the Vatican Bank? Yeah. You didn't live with the papal family? Yeah, I did. And now you want to become a Catholic? I don't get it. Abraham said, "Look, I don't know that much about your theology, but I know a heck of a lot about business. And one thing I know for sure, no merely earthly business that stupid and corrupt could last 14 days. Yours has lasted 14 centuries. It's a miracle. I'm convinced."
Right.
I thought that was a good argument.
Yeah, it is pretty good. You know, the other thing, too, is if you were looking for the perfect religion based on the moral purity of the adherents, you would have missed the true religion in the Old Testament. Do you know what I'm saying? The Jewish people, when you read the story of David and Moses and Rahab.
The stiff-necked, impossible, arrogant people, us.
Yeah.
It always has been.
Are you seeing a temptation among Catholics that you interact with, maybe at your college and others, to leave the church right now, given the current scandal in the church?
Yeah, but I think that's always an excuse for a weak faith to begin with.
Yeah.
I haven't met anybody who once was a serious, moral, intelligent Catholic who is leaving just because of the priest scandals.
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
I've met nice, naive people who said it's all kumbaya and now it's all trash. But you've got to be naive to begin with to let scandals drive you away.
Yeah. So do you go to a Latin Mass or do you go to a Novus Ordo or do you have a strong preference?
I love all forms of the Mass, but I go most of the time to an Anglican youth Mass where the priest and half of his congregation, who used to be Anglican, are now Catholic. He's married.
Yeah.
And we have the other great masterpiece of the English language, the Book of Common Prayer.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Which is very beautiful.
I have to admit, before all my audience who are going to be upset with me, I don't know what you think, but my favorite translation, well, I don't know if it's my favorite, but I love the King James.
So do I.
Do you? Yeah.
So do I.
But my problem was, of course, I could never find one with the Deuterocanonical books until I met an Anglican priest who had this big Bible, had the Common Prayer, had the Deuterocanonicals, and the whole thing was the King James.
Yep.
Why do you like the King James?
Its effect. It's not only beautiful, and it's not only accurate. By the way, I know enough Greek to compare the King James New Testament to modern translations. It's more literal as well as more poetic.
Yeah.
The modern translations take it away.
Yeah, it's glorious.
So it's not only more beautiful, but it's much easier to worship in King James language.
Yep.
If you call God thou instead of you, that keeps him up at that level.
Yes.
And the fact that he comes down that much to you in intimacy is much greater than if you're a chum and now we're here. Let's sit at a bar and drink together and talk baseball. That's not how you deal with God.
Yeah, so talk a bit more about that, about how language affects how we pray. I mean, Benedict implemented those changes in the Novus Ordo so that we would say different things, and maybe there were some people who thought that was a waste of time, but language does affect how we understand ourselves and God, yeah?
It does. Let's take a little example. Eisel's old translation of the Gloria in the Mass eliminated repetition. And the result was, okay, this is like a philosophical treatise, point 1, point 2, point 3. The old version was you say it over again, you repeat it. Well, you don't have to do that. There's no utilitarian reason for doing it.
Yeah.
But it's like the Psalms. The parallelism gets under your skin and into your soul and hammers the same nail in twice. And they don't understand that.
I've been going to a Byzantine church for 4 years.
Wonderful.
And talk about repeating. There's a joke in the Byzantine church. There's nothing the Romans can do in 10 minutes that we can't do in an hour. You know?
Yes.
But it's the same thing. You know, everything is prayed 3 times in a row, and it's glorious. It's beautiful.
Well, I think John Paul II must have ADD too, because his favorite prayer was the Rosary.
Yeah.
And that's full of repetition.
Yeah.
But it's not boring repetition. It's like the waves.
Yeah. Yeah, not like the washing machine.
Yep.
How long have you been praying the Rosary for?
Let's see, since I thought of becoming a Catholic.
Really?
Since my senior year at Calvin College.
Is this something you choose to pray daily, or is it something, When do you pray it?
Usually when I'm driving.
Yeah. ADD, right? That helps.
Yeah.
Doing something while you're praying the Rosary. I think an obstacle many people have to the Rosary, or prayer in general, is that they think they have to feel a certain way for their prayer to be effective or meaningful.
This was one of the most liberating discoveries I made in reading the Catholic saints. They all said, don't pay so much attention to your feelings. Feelings don't count. They're God's gifts. They're fine. They help. But it's the will that counts. And when you will something, not only do you strengthen your will, but you're accomplishing something. Feelings don't accomplish anything. It's like watching a movie. It's entertaining and it's helpful, and it's good. But praying the Rosary isn't meant to be interesting. It's meant to be an accomplishment. With every word, prayer changes things.
Yeah, you wrote a book called Prayer for Beginners. Is that what it was called?
That was almost a plagiarism of Brother Lawrence's The Practice of the Presence of God, which is one of my favorite books because it's very, very simple.
Yeah. What does it say? You use this analogy where you say a way to pray, you do the same thing when you kind of come to the end of a sidewalk to cross the street. You stop, wait, and listen. Talk about that.
Yeah, there used to be signs around railroad crossings that says stop, look, and listen.
Oh, okay.
And before you can either look or listen, you have to stop.
Yeah.
We're like flywheels. We keep moving and moving and moving.
Oh, yeah.
And it's much harder to stop than to start.
Yes.
So the first thing you have to do in order to pray is stop doing everything else. And when I wake up every morning, my mind is racing at the beginning. Yeah. This is what I have to do. This is what I have to worry about. This is what I have to accomplish. And you have to stop that. You have to kill those little gremlins that are attacking you with their little swords stuck into your brain.
Yes.
I love St. Benedict's interpretation of Psalm 137 by the waters of Babylon, which ends in that horrible verse, "O Babylon destroyer, blessed is he who seizes your little babies and smashes their brains out against the curbstone."
Right.
How can a Christian pray that? St. Benedict says, well, those little babies are baby thoughts. And every sin starts with thought. And Babylon is, of course, the Jews' enemy and a symbol of evil. Yeah. So as soon as this evil thought occurs to you, have no mercy upon it. Bash the little bastard's brains out.
Love it.
So stop.
But then,
how
do you stop, though? Because you can't just will yourself to stop having those thoughts, can you? You say you wake up in the morning, they rush at you.
Yes, you can. They still come, but they don't touch you. You're not saying yes to them. You're ignoring them. They still come, and you're still distracted, but you know that that's not you. You don't identify with them. You don't find your identity in them.
Do you have a morning ritual, prayer routine, sort of?
No, just the morning offering.
Morning offering, lovely.
And I say a psalm or two at night, and I try to remember during the day. I'm not good at praying in general, and I'm not good at praying for a long time. I get bored so easily. So for me, the most important thing about prayer is that not just that it is something you do for a few minutes a day, but it's something you do all day. Implicitly, the morning offering permeates into all your prayers. God, take this. I'm going to forget you, but you're not going to forget me.
Yeah.
Here, this little drug here called caffeine may be doing me a little good and a little harm, and I'm not thinking about it right now. I'm just doing it, but I'll drink this coffee for you. I don't know what that means, but I want to do it.
Yeah, kind of childlike dependency and submission to a good father.
Yo, thanks for watching. You can watch the entire episode on YouTube if you want. You can listen to it at The Matt Fradd Show by subscribing on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And feel free to support me, patreon.com/MattFradd.